Hi, fabulous fifth grade friends. This is Miss Kennedy. I am providing you with this instructional video for our new math chapter, chapter 11, where we're talking about measurements. I will be instructing you on lesson 5 today, which is units of weight. There are a couple things that I need for you to understand about this platform. One, you may hear sounds. You may hear me using my screen. You may notice that I pause, and you may notice that there are some functions that I have to utilize in order to make this work, such as drawing on the whiteboard. All right, so there's a couple things that I need you to do first. If you have not done so already, watch the recording of Math Chapter 11, Lesson 2, provided by Mrs. Walsh. She does the introduction for this new chapter because we finished up Chapter 10 before we left school. And now on this new platform, we're starting a brand new chapter. And if you haven't already done so, like I said, watch her video first to help you understand this video. Next, as we go through this lesson, you will need paper and pencil, right? It's not just me talking to you. You need to actually do the math as we go along. In Chapter 11, Lesson 5, our learning target focuses on units of weight. As Ms. Walsh discussed in the first lesson, Lesson 2, she said that the United States uses a customary system of measurements. When it comes to weight, we use pounds, ounces, and tons, and that's what we're going to learn about in today's lesson. If you'll notice on the right side of the screen, I have posted our mathematical practices. And in the student-friendly language in the right column, I'm going to be referring to mathematical practice number 2. I can think about the math problem in my head first. MP number 6. I can check to see if my strategy and calculations are correct. MP number 7, I can use what I already know about math to solve the problem. And of course, as always, I save number 1 for last. I feel like it should be last. I can try many times to understand and solve a math problem because we don't give up on the very first attempt. So, by the end of this lesson, hopefully you'll be able to recall weight measurements. You will understand the difference between small and large units of weight. You'll know when to multiply or divide to complete a conversion, and that you must have similar measurements in order to compare a measurement. So we don't compare apples to oranges. We also don't compare ounces to pounds. We have to make them the same measurements. And so by the end of this lesson, hopefully you will have an understanding of those 4 things. How to convert units of weight. So we're going to get into the method of conversion. When we convert ounces to pounds, we're either going to divide or multiply by 16 because 1 ounce of 16, let me back up, 16 ounces equals 1 pound. 1 pound equals 16 ounces. 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So imagine if you go to your kitchen, you get a slice of bread, you put it in your hand, that's about 1 ounce. Now imagine you go to the grocery store and you're selecting apples, or perhaps you find a huge tomato as our picture is showing, and it's 16 ounces, which is the same as saying it's 1 pound. Now we have a buffalo, or perhaps imagine an elephant there, that equals 1 ton. 1 ton is equivalent to 2,000 pounds. So what I need you to remember is that 1 pound equals 16 ounces and vice versa, meaning 16 ounces equals 1 pound, and that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds, vice versa. Do it the other way. 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. We're going to jump into math in my world. Before I read the example, I want you to notice that I have marked the MPs on here. MP 7, I can use what I already know about math to solve the problem. And MP 6, I can check to see if my strategy and calculations are correct. So once you get the answer, you always want to check your work. One thing to understand is that when we're converting units, we need to understand which one is smaller, which one is larger. Let's go back to the key concepts, all right? Ounces is definitely the smaller version between ounce and pounds. Pounds is a larger unit compared to ounces. 1 ton is the larger unit. Pounds is the smaller unit. Back where we were. Example 1, let's give this a try. A newborn lion cub weighs about 5 pounds. How many ounces does the cub weigh? Convert 5 pounds to ounces. At this point, I'm getting a drawing tool. So if you notice some pauses in the speech, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to set up the screen so that I can do the math with you. Convert 5 pounds to ounces. Pounds is the larger unit. Picture that tomato in your head. That's the larger unit. Ounces, that single piece of bread, is a smaller unit. When you convert a larger unit to a smaller unit, you multiply. Over here to the right, you'll notice my blue pen. There we are. To the right, we already have the standard algorithm for 16 ounces by 5. Why are we multiplying by 16? Because 16 ounces equals 1 pound, and we want to convert 5 pounds to ounces. We're going to use what we already know about math, which is the multiplication. We already know how to do multiplication. So starting from the right side of the standard algorithm, 6 times 5 is 30. Put down the 0, carry over those 3 tens. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 80. So 5 pounds, going back to the drawing on the left side, hopefully you see, I'm writing in 80 ounces. So 5 pounds equals 80 ounces. I use what I already know, MP7. I know how to multiply. That's what I use to get my answer. To check my work, I use the inverse operation of multiplication. Inverse meaning opposite. 80 divided by 5 equals 16. And that completes example 1. I need to clear my screen. All right, we're moving along here with this. And if you hear a tap, that's me trying to get to the next slide. And it is not working. Example 2. All right. Now we're going to convert 56 ounces to pounds. So remember that slice of bread we were looking at, okay? That is a smaller unit. When you convert a smaller unit, watch my pen at the bottom, a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit, we need to divide. So I have MP2 over here that says I can think about the math problem in my head first, because sometimes division can be a little bit tricky for me, but we're going to practice. So we already have the standard algorithm on the right side. I'm going to draw an arrow toward it. There's your standard algorithm. It's already set up. Notice they're giving us a hint because they put one box here, but then they also put a R standing for remainder. So I can expect a remainder for this answer. Since you are changing a smaller unit to a larger unit, divide. Well, I just did example 1, so I know that 16 times 5 is 80. So 5 is much too large in this scenario. What if I multiply 16 times 3? Let's see, 16 times 3 is, 6 times 3 is 18. Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, I'm quickly going to do the math here. So 16 minus 8 equals 8. 4 minus 4 is 0. So I have 3, remainder 8. I'm going to change the color of the pen. And let's go right here, follow the pink. The remainder 8 means that there are 8 ounces left over. So technically, my answer is 56 ounces equals 3 pounds, 8 ounces. Notice the pink again. I'm writing in 56 ounces equals 3 pounds, 8 ounces. Now, you'll notice multiple ways that it's written. 3.5 pounds in a fraction form and 3.5 pounds in a decimal form. If I took this 8 that was left over and I put it over the divisor 16, I have a whole number 3, remember? And then 8 left over, 8/16. We would use the greatest common factor, which is 8, and divide 8 by 8 equals 1. 16 divided by 8 equals 2. That's how we come up with 3.5 pounds. And the fraction form, 3.5, we're not going to go into too much today. And so you're going to either put it in the fraction form or the whole number and remainder form. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to clear off my board here. If you're good with the decimals and you work better with the decimals, go ahead and use that. If you're good with the fractions, go ahead and use that. If you need to write it out as pounds and ounces, go ahead and do that. You're going to work to your strengths while you're practicing. You're going to notice the screen change again so that we can get into some independent practice, some practical application of what we learned. So, in my mind, I know that a slice of bread is 1 ounce, a large tomato or maybe 3 apples equals 1 pound, which is 16 ounces. 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds, and 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton. Why am I trying to remember that? Because I need to know the conversion amounts so I know whether I'm going to multiply or divide. I also need to know if it's the smaller unit or the larger unit. So I'm remembering a couple things at one time to help me do these conversions. And so here comes my drawing again. Note at the bottom. When you convert measurements, you change from one unit to another. We're converting these measurements. The larger unit to a smaller unit, multiply. Changing the color. Smaller unit to a larger unit, divide. All right, so let's take a look at number 4 at the top left. We want to convert 96 ounces to a certain number of pounds. Ounces is the smaller unit, so we need to divide. Look at what I underlined in blue at the bottom. Ounces is the smaller unit, that piece of bread, and we're going to convert it to a larger unit, like that large tomato. Let's see here. So changing the color again. 96 divided by 16. Why? Because 16 ounces equals a pound. So even though I have my division set up like that, I don't want to do my problem like that. So I'm going to erase it. And I'm going to do the standard algorithm. I already know that 16 times 5 was 80. And 16 times 3 was 48. Let's try 16 times 6. 6 times 16 will give me, 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 96. Look at that, and no remainder. So 96 ounces equals 6 pounds. Yay, and the crowd goes wild. We just did our first conversion. All right, clearing the screen, let's take a look at number 5. At this point, I want you to get going on your own. I know it says tons, but I'm going to set you up and give you a moment to think about this particular question. 7 tons. Tons is larger. That's a larger unit of weight than pounds. Okay, let's go back and I'll underline that again in pink at the bottom. Larger unit to a smaller unit, multiply. So my multiplication will look like 2,000 pounds, LBS, times 7. Why? There's 2,000 pounds in 1 ton. I want to find the equivalent of 7 tons. All right, friends, perhaps you saw me work that problem out. I was actually paused, so not sure if you heard any silence or not. But when we multiply 2,000 pounds times 7, we get 14,000. For my friends who remember the strategy powers of 10, if we took all those zeros away, use mental math, 2 times 7 is 14, and then put all those zeros back, we could do it that way as well. Or we could just do that standard algorithm like we've been doing, all right? Whatever works for you. You need to find the strategy that works best for you. All right, clearing the screen, moving on to number 10. I took these out of sequential order because I didn't want you to have to listen to a very long lesson. All right, so we have 7,000 pounds. LB stands for pounds, if I didn't already say that. We want to change these pounds to tons. So we got the smaller unit to a larger unit. Let me go back to the blue color. We need to divide. What are we going to use to divide? 2,000. Well, I don't know about you, but these zeros make the problem look more complicated. I'm going to take them out and I'll put them back later. 7 divided by 2, I think is going to give me a fraction, because I know that 3 times 2 is 6. So that gives me 3 1/2. 3 1/2, or that decimal 5/10, right? 3 5/10. All right, so 7,000 pounds equals 3. Let me do my erasing. 7,000 pounds equals 3.5 tons. 3.5 tons. And they just have to keep giving me harder questions. Take a look at number 11. 3/4 of a ton equals how many pounds? All right, my strategy is to think about the problem in my head. That's my mathematical practice. Number 2. I already forgot. We're going to think about this problem in our head. So I know that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. All right, let's go for it. To multiply a fraction by a whole number, what do you remember about that? We have to put that whole number under 1. All right? So we already know that we can multiply without finding a common denominator. So let's multiply 3 times 2,000. Well, I'm going to put my zeros here. And I know that 3 times 2 is 6. I know that 4 times 1 equals 4. So now I have 6,000 fourths. Well, I don't want to keep it like that, but I do want to clean up my board. 6,000 fourths. So my fraction represents division. So I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator. Doing some cleanup. Okay, now I'm ready to go. I know that 6 can divide by 4 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 times 4 is 2. Bring down the 0. 20 divides by 4 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. And the rest of the answer is going to be zeros. So 3/4 ton equals 1,500 pounds. 1,500 pounds. Is there another strategy to do this? Absolutely. We're going to leave it at multiplication of fractions right now. All right, friends. I skipped a slide, going back. And I paused to make sure it was going to stay on the screen where I was trying to get to, and it wasn't going too fast. Now, remember I said in the beginning of the video, we cannot compare apples and oranges. So we need to make a decision, and our strategy is to convert one or the other. So let's take a look at number 12. My directions tell me I need to compare, use less than, greater than, or equal to make the statement true. So I have 7,500 pounds. Okay, that's a smaller unit compared to tons, 4 tons. So that's not what I intended to do. Let me go back to the screen where we were. Hold on. Sorry. All right, here we go. What we were saying was a smaller unit to a larger unit we need to divide. So we need to divide 7,500 by 2,000. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to do it the other way. I think I want to convert 4 tons to pounds. And I'm going to do that by multiplying those 2,000 pounds that equal 1 ton by 4. It's just easier than trying to divide. So instead, I use the larger unit to a smaller unit. So I'm going to multiply. I know I got all those zeros. Powers of 10 tells me I can just put those in there and multiply 4 times 2, which is 8. Cleaning up my board. Now I'm comparing 7,500 pounds to 8,000 pounds. If you answered less than, you are absolutely correct. 7,500 pounds is less than 8,000 pounds, LBS. Nice work, friends. All right, number 13. Half a ton. I need to compare that to 1,000 pounds. Why did they give me a fraction? Remember, I can think about this in my head first, okay? If I know that 1 ton is 2,000 pounds, right? That equals 1 ton. If I divide that in half, right? It looks like I need to go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, which means I'm going to multiply. I could use the fraction and multiply, and it looks like this. 1/2. Let me clean up the board a little bit. 1/2 times 2,000 over 1. Remember, we put that whole number over 1. 1 times 2,000 equals 2,000. 2 times 1 equals 2. And then I do the division. 2,000 divided by 2 gives me 1, because I divide 2 by 2, and then I add those zeros at the end. Okay? I actually have it written on the wrong side. So now I'm comparing 1,000 pounds to 1,000 pounds. What do I get? A half ton is equal to 1,000 pounds. Cleaning up the screen as we wrap up our lesson. So our goals were to recall weight measurements. 16 ounces equals 1 pound, 2,000 pounds equals 1 ton, and vice versa. Understand the difference between small and large units of weight. Ounces are smaller than pounds. Pounds are smaller than tons. I know when to multiply or divide. So a larger unit to a smaller unit means I multiply. A smaller unit to a larger unit means I divide. And I have to have similar measurements to compare. So if I'm showing tons and pounds, I need to make them either both tons or both pounds. And that's my choice. All right, Now you're ready for the independent practice. If you will please go on to iReady. Once you have made sense of this lesson, you can re-watch the video, or you can reach out to me, Mrs. Walsh, Mrs. Contreras, whoever your teacher is on Class Dojo, and you can practice on iReady. We've already assigned this lesson to you. It's called Practice. Let me see if I can draw here or put a arrow. Let's see. An arrow. Arrow. It doesn't let me turn the direction, but okay. So let's try something different. Maybe I can put a box around this. Practice conversion customary units of weight on iReady. All right. We believe in you. You can do this. You've got this. And I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. Again, rewatch it if you need to. And I'm going to play my exit music on the way out. Thank you for listening, fabulous fifth grade friends. See you next time.